Right, we're all good. So, welcome everybody and those watching on replay. So today's session, we are going to be focusing on food relationship, and it's something that almost nobody talks about, I find. I seem to be the only one talking about it. A lot of people talk about healthy eating, or they talk about people will say, oh, I can't stick to a diet, or they'll say, oh, I'm terrible. But they're actually, we talk about mastering so many things. We talk about mastering the art of singing or the art of dancing, or we talk about mastering anything we're studying, or so it's like they treat it like an academic subject. But when it comes to food relationship, it's always a little bit hush hush, isn't it? It's always one of those things that people don't talk about, a little bit like menopause. One of the things, oh, don't talk about that, because people don't really understand it in a kind of academic way. And so I'm here to solve all that. We're getting food relationship out into the open, into the mainstream, as something that needs educating. And why is that? Why is it that it needs talking about and it needs education? Well, the reason is, and I'll show a few slides, but if you can think about it as the way we evolved as hunter-gatherer, go back to our roots, go back to the way we evolved on the planet, we wouldn't have had dysfunctional food relationships because we would have been surrounded by fruit and veg and whatever meat and fish we could catch, right? We would have eaten everything that was edible, and that was survival. And so that was good for us. So this, this kind of drive to feed ourselves was good and natural and right and human. But fast forward to this day and age, this modern world, probably talking since, I don't know, the 50s, when food started getting processed and starts getting made in factories, and food in packets starts getting sold on the shelves. And of course, since the 50s, things have got worse and worse and worse. And when I say worse, what I mean is further and further from the way humans were meant to be eating. It looks less and less like your farmer's market and more like a sweet shop or a fast food store, So that's what I mean when I say getting worse. But also what is getting worse without us noticing is have a look at the list of ingredients. The list of ingredients is getting longer and longer and longer. So what's happening is the food that is easily available to us is no longer picked off a tree or harvested from the ground, but it's out of a packet. And we think that that's food. And so we eat it without paying any attention to what they're putting in it. And what they're putting in it, some of us are starting to realize, people like, where is he? Dr. What's his name? Chris Van Tulleken, yeah? With the book on ultra-processed people. People like Chris, people like Tim Spector, people like me are starting to raise awareness of the fact that what we're being fed unconsciously is making us ill. And now scientists are starting to properly study this, and they are starting to realize, yep, it's the food we're being fed. But not only is it making us ill, it's giving us this dysfunctional relationship with food because it's triggering our cravings and our comfort eating. And so, what is the typical ingredient that people turn to for comfort or habit? It tends to be sugar. And so they put sugar in everything to make us go back to it. So basically, we're puppets. They are using our natural cravings for sugar and salt and fat, which would have been healthy. They're using those cravings to make us buy more of their food. So that is just why I'm here talking about food relationship today, and it wouldn't have been, it's not a part of, you know, it's not a problem for the human race until we started putting all this modern food on our shelves. So that's why we're here, my darlings. So those are in the room and those are listening on replay, let's just do a few logistics. Has everybody got a glass of water? Melinda's got hers. Rita, hopefully you've got your glass of water there, darling. And if you haven't, feel free to go and get one. Yeah, nice one. So the reason I think is so important, and I always start with, have you got a glass of water, is this is one big problem with our food relationship, is often we're thirsty. Very often we're thirsty and we don't realize it. So I always get people drinking water. Let's have a sip. If you are
I've got bottled water.
You've got what, love?
Bottled water.
Excellent. Keep drinking. And anybody watching me on the replay, get yourself a glass of, press pause, get yourself a glass of water. And from now on, we're going to do our best and drink more because we need to be better hydrated. In fact, I can now feel when I'm dehydrated. I've tuned into it and I get a dull ache here. I wouldn't call it a headache, just a very slight, oh, I can feel that I'm dehydrated. And that is happening to me today because I've been busy this morning and I've forgotten. So that's what we're going to do. So that's the first thing. But let me go to some slides and share some slides with you and give you a bit of an introduction to me. I know, Melinda, you've seen this twice now, if not more. But just for Rita and anybody watching on replay, I would like to just give you a little bit of an introduction into who I am and why I'm talking about this. Let's have a look. Let's just do a screen share. Present a view, present, audience window. Presenter window, share. There we are. How's that looking, everybody? Can you see? Oh no, I've lost you. Bear with. Yeah, Melinda, can you see my slides? And just my slides and me? Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad you're there on camera. Otherwise, I'd be like talking to the wall. So for those who've never met me before, I am Sue Ella. I'm a health transformation and food relationship coach. And I don't think I know anybody else who describes themselves as a food relationship coach. So, and it's what I love because I've spent decades trying to figure out my own food relationship, trying to get on top of my weight, my symptoms, and my compulsions. And so for anyone that hasn't met me before, I'm 54, got 2 teenagers, love life, love motorbikes. I don't ride motorbikes in the UK now, it's too dangerous. But when I go on holiday to a Greek island or somewhere, you know, a little bit fun, I like to rent a scooter, a little Vespa or something like that, and just have a little bit of fun safely. I haven't always been this. I'm a systems engineer. I've been a medical physicist before. And 5 years ago, I completely transformed my weight, my health, and my entire life by discovering this natural solution that I'm telling you about, which is about how humans should be eating. I'm now one of 11 master coaches worldwide teaching this method, which is highly successful and has been done by hundreds of thousands of people around the world. It's just that my spin on it is much more about the food relationship, the compassion, the self-care, the freedom and the flexibility. The program that I coach is really just a foundational program that I bring my personal and unique flair to. I've coached now nearly 300, mostly women, 40, 50 plus, through this program. I also coach men and teenagers and whole families. So this is me, my food relationship. Going back to, that's a picture of me in my 30s, couple of dress sizes heavier, but loving that party food, drinking wine. You know, I still love party food and drink wine, but it's my relationship with food is very much different now than it was then. Back then, it was quite compulsive. Do you know what I mean? If there was a party, it would be, oh, let's go and have a look at the party food. You know, before I find out who was there, it's like, fun, you know, and food can be fun. There's nothing wrong with that. But it was like, I started to realize I'm thinking more about the food than the connections in the room. And it was the same on holidays. Holidays, what are we going to eat? Let's get our big shopping. Let's buy, you know, all the local I love travel gastronomy. I still do. But back then it was, right, let's get crisps, let's get alcohol, let's get pop, let's get the local patisserie. Oh, and let's get, and I would prioritize focusing on the food before anything else, you know. And what I hadn't realized back then was within a few days of being on holiday, I would start to feel crap. And I didn't really realize why. I thought that, you know, when you're on holiday and you start to wind down, and your brain tells your body, we're on holiday, wind down. It's a good thing to wind down, but what my body was doing was I was eating all the crap foods, and my body was going, oh God, we're so low on energy, was stealing my energy, plus that relaxation factor, and I was just good for nothing. And so my holidays would just be somewhat disappointing, apart from the food. So, you know, it was all about holidays and parties and pub meals and boozy nights. I ran a curry club, and all those things are great in, you know, in context. But for me, it was my whole life. And then I don't think I was so much of a comfort eater because I was having a great time. But I know that a lot of people who aren't having such a great time in their lives, for them, it wouldn't necessarily be celebrating and socializing, but it would be turning to food for comfort, and through grief and through sadness and loneliness. And so this is very much, you know, a compassionate subject for me, as well as my history. So, you know, wine to relax. You know, I found it hard to relax because I was so busy and overwhelmed all the time, fingers in all the pies. So my solution for relaxing was wine, and I drank every night to relax, and I loved it, but it really took its toll. Oh, my bit about my identity before we go any further. I used to be the champion cake baker. This is a few of the cakes that I've made in the last couple of decades. A floppy dog cake for my daughter's 8th that had almost like real fur on it, a dartboard cake, and a Star Wars whatever that Star Wars thing is called. I can't remember. So, but the impact of all that, the impact of that identity was that I didn't have any energy, and I was exhausted in the afternoons, not to mention on holiday, but craving sugar, looking round. I wouldn't bring sugar to work because I wouldn't, you know, I want to get off it. I think, no, I'm not going to have anything. I'm going to do really well. Bring a good lunch, bring a salad for lunch. But by 2 p.m., I would be hunting the sugar in the office, you know, going, has anybody got any chocolate? Is there any biscuits in the other kitchen? You know, that kind of thing. Desperate. Didn't like that at all. And then I noticed in my late 30s that I was getting stiff, achy joints. Does anybody in the room experience that? It tends to be something that, oh, Rita, what was it, the symptoms that you were telling me yesterday on the phone? Is it,
Oh, I can't remember.
was it, what do you experience? Is it stiff, achy joints, or is
Oh,
it,
I've got to have a hip replacement too.
you've got the hip replacement on the list for that, aren't you?
Yeah.
And is there anything else apart from the hip?
No, just lower back. But
Lower back?
I've worked in nursing for 40 years, so all the
Yeah,
lifting and bending and everything's, I think it's took its toll.
of course, it takes its toll. And also, there may be some inflammation going on there as well. And it's the inflammation that exacerbates the old injuries. So what about things like, the other things that I used to get was acid reflux and, you know, gut issues. Sometimes I'd be constipated. If anybody gets anything like that as well, that's all to do with our food relationship as well. So I'm not going to ask anybody to share, but these are the kinds of things that we're talking, and this is what I was experiencing. Terrible, terrible acid reflux. And I'd go to the GP and I'd say, I'm getting this acid reflux, and they put me on tablets, quite serious tablets for acid reflux. Never once did they ask me how I was eating. And I thought, I just got away with that because I knew it was the way I was eating. But they gave me meds, which sorted it out, which meant I could carry on eating the pizzas and the drinking alcohol and the takeaways. So, you know, we are in control. We are in control to a great extent over our energy, all kinds of symptoms, including gut symptoms and joint symptoms. So, oh, and the fatigue, terrible fatigue. And I remember I couldn't even put the kids to bed. I would just have no energy at all early evening. I couldn't stay awake. And it was a long history of yo-yo dieting, trying to get the weight off. And that was miserable, you know, the on it, off it, on it, off it. I just couldn't do it any longer. So that 35 years I spent yo-yo dieting left me feeling like a failure because I felt like I couldn't stick to anything, because food was calling me in so many ways. It was part of every single thing that I did. And yet to diet, I would have to give all that up and live a life like a hermit and live on lettuce and cabbage and just be miserable. So dieting really, it was the thorn in my side. And I didn't know another way. Zero willpower. I couldn't stick to anything because, of course, it made me miserable and I didn't want to do it. And also with willpower, you are kind of fighting your inner built cravings. You're fighting those. Your brain's going, no, 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 you can't have it. And your body's going, but I need it, I need it, I need it. And it's this stressful battle. So willpower, it really doesn't work. So we need to learn a way, the way we don't need to rely on willpower. You know, the other thing about dieting, the constant measuring and tracking what I was eating and counting points and calories or carbs or sins or whatever it was, you know, or and following the recipes was all too much for me, and I couldn't do it. I'm not going to talk too much about dieting because this was more about yesterday's talk. If anybody wants to know more about the whole dieting and why it doesn't work, we talked more about that yesterday on the weight loss, natural and lasting weight loss subject. But the reason I'm bringing it up again today is because dieting for a lot of us is a huge part of our food relationship. It's that on it, off it mentality. And we need to break free from that. And lo and behold, 2020, I jumped on this health transformation program because it promised me weight loss. And it did. I lost 20 pounds, and that was 2 dress sizes, which was beautiful for me. Changed my life. But what I learned was, my food relationship was related to the way I was eating, perpetuating the cravings and the compulsions and the comfort eating, because it didn't feel good in my body. And when I learned how to switch to a much more natural way of eating, it felt so good that I was able to largely leave behind a lot of the gastronomic overindulgence. And I now got freedom because, you know, I still love a glass of wine. I still love my chocolate. I still love occasionally a pub meal, but I'm not looking for the most indulgent thing on the menu now. I'm actually looking for the healthiest thing on the menu now, because I know that if I order something like the pie and chips, I'm going to feel crap. I'm going to feel sluggish, lethargic, and it's going to trigger my joint pain, stiffness, and acid reflux, either the same day or the next day. So now when I eat out, restaurant, pub, whatever it is, when I entertain friends, I'm choosing something that's just as delicious, but it's made from all natural, healthy ingredients. And it's learning how to do that. Chefs do it, top chefs do it. But you don't have to be a top chef to deliver to make yourself or your family, or to choose from the menu something that is natural with vegetables and protein. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. And it explained to me why I'd spent decades craving and failing at diets. Is because I was missing that whole range of natural foods. Okay. So this is me now. Rita, I know we've only just met, my love. This is me now in just so much more energy. And I'm 54. I mentioned I was 54, but I'm feeling better than I did in my 30s now. I really am, because I'm lighter, I'm clearer headed. I got more vitality, I got more energy, and I've just got more joy. So I thought that the food lifestyle was joyful, but actually now I've got a clean food lifestyle that is free and flexible and allows me those treats, but it makes me feel great. And the best thing is that I no longer feel like a failure. I feel empowered and in control of my destiny and my health. And I've ditched the flipping diets forever. I've ditched the diets forever, and they are never coming back. So my darlings, those in the room and those watching on replay, I'd ask you to consider, have a little reflection on what is it for you? How is your food relationship? Do you resonate with anything that I've talked about in my overly indulgent, celebrating social side, heavy social pressure, conferences, events, parties? Or is it for you more, you turn to food for boredom? Maybe you turn to food for comfort. Maybe convenience. Most of us are very, very busy, and so we are going to food that is ready made because we think we need it to be quick, and we think it's going to be quicker. And I can show you that actually it's not quicker. It's actually much, much quicker to prepare your own food, and you save energy and, as well, but we'll come to that. So if anybody wants to share, Rita or Melinda, would anybody like to share what do you feel about your food relationship? Is this something that you recognize needs a little bit of TLC? Rita, anything coming up for you, my love?
No, not really. I've always been quite slim, but since I've had these hip problems, I can't do a lot, and I do tend to, because all the kids are grown up and left home now. I'm just cooking for myself. I find that quite difficult.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's a huge part of it, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
when
I
we
still cook far too much, as though they're
oh,
still here.
actually, that's a really good thing to do when you do cook. If you cook far too much, that's called batch cooking. Put it in containers and put it in the fridge. So I hear you saying you cook far too much for yourself, and then you probably feel like you're eating too much. But actually, when you're eating in the right way, you won't need to worry about how much you eat. Your body will take care of that. What tends to happen is when we're eating in the modern way, with a lot of potatoes, chips, pasta, rice, pastry, that's when we eat too much. It's the modern Moorish foods. Do you know what I mean when I say the Moorish foods?
Yeah,
I remember when I was a kid, when I was an early teenager, oh my God, mashed potato was my favorite food, mashed potato. And I can remember always getting another helping of mashed potato if there was some there. We'd have to make loads because everybody loved mashed potato. And I would put a bit of cheese on it and maybe some butter and maybe some tomato ketchup. I remember thinking, oh my God, I don't know when to stop. And it was really only mashed potato that I had that. And I recognized it then, 40 odd years ago. And I thought, what is it about this food that means I can't stop? I just want to keep going. And I know what that is now. Now I know why it is. And it's not a character defect. It's in the food. It's built into the food. It's not, it's not a particularly natural thing. Mashed potato with butter, salt, and cheese. It's not a particularly natural human food. The natural version of that would have been a sweet potato straight from the ground and put on the fire, plain. And there's only a limit to how much of that a human will eat before they start to go, oh, I've had enough, So it's a combination of foods. And plus, that's just a fairly natural example. But then when you talk about crisps or chocolate, that's built into the food. That compulsion that, oh, I can't stop if it's milk chocolate. That's why I don't eat milk chocolate. I only ever eat really dark chocolate because there's a stopping point with that, because the body goes, don't need much of this. But with milk chocolate, because it's packed with sugar and also milk fats, they're Moorish foods. It's like, nom, 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 I don't know when to stop. So it's not a character defect. It's built into the food. So Rita, when you're talking about making yourself too much. Let me set you a little challenge, my darling. Make yourself plenty, but make it plenty of vegetables, fish, meat, and eggs. Make plenty of that and put it aside for another meal. And you won't find that there's that compulsive factor.
Yeah, I eat very little.
Sorry,
I eat very little
yeah,
because I told you about the wine.
yeah.
So I eat very little. I make myself eat in the evening.
Yeah, I hear you, darling. And we need an overhaul because alcohol's a big factor of this. It was a big part of my history as well. And what it means is that we're not getting properly nourished. And alcohol can deplete the nutrition. It can deplete it. So we'll talk more about the specific foods. Today we're not going to talk about specific foods, but Rita, do book that call with me. I'll get in touch with you after this and I'll show you how you can do that. And we'll have a much better chat about, which specific foods we need to be eating. Thanks for sharing, Rita. Melinda, did you have any reflections on food relationship?
I think ours is like more sociable kind of thing. And it's just, yeah, on my husband's mind a lot. So I get drawn into it over the years.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like, he's like, we have breakfast, and they go, what we have for tea tonight? And I'm like, I've only said breakfast.
Yeah, just like food is like central.
Yeah, but
To
he's thinking
family.
he's planning ahead. But I don't think he is so much.
He's
I
just
think
thinking
it
about
is,
food
it is,
constantly.
yes, it is in his mind a lot. So it affects me as well.
Yeah, of course. And the people we share a house with, and the friends, the family, it's all a huge factor. And if they are constantly either talking about food or, offering us food or cooking in an overindulgent way or tempting us with chocolates or opening a bottle of wine, or it's a hard one because we know we don't need it, but we want to be part of it. It's that social aspect, isn't it? So it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Let's go back to my slides. So, yes, lots and lots of different things about food relationship coming up there. So, how would it feel if we could be really at peace with food and learn to love eating for health? Overcome not just the confusion over, well, how should I be eating? And how much should I be eating, and what should I be eating to nourish myself, and dealing with the compulsions like the chocolate and the alcohol and the cake, dealing with all that, overcoming that in a way that helps you to feel empowered. And I got this and I want to share it with the world. Now, that's not to say I don't have compulsions. I absolutely do. But they're manageable now and they're few and far between. Yeah. And when I have a compulsion, I sometimes go, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to indulge in that. What was it the other day? It wasn't a compulsion, actually. It was a conscious gastronomic decision. We were out and about in Cirencester and we went to an artisan deli. And there was the most beautiful and huge almond croissants. Now, I looked at those and I was trying to decide. I intended to have one thing from that deli. And I was taking my time. And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to have one thing, it's going to be that almond croissant. And I had it the whole thing. So it was a much more conscious experience than it would have been before. Before, every time I walked past an artisan deli, I would make sure I had something, or every time I saw an almond croissant in any supermarket, I would have one. It's just like it was full on before, almost without a break. But now it's like, oh, this is the last summer trip of the summer, and I haven't had a patisserie pretty much all summer, come to think about it. I'm going to indulge in that. Conscious gastronomy versus the old way, which was, full on. So that's the difference that I'm talking about. And I felt in control with that croissant. But there are moments of compulsion, absolutely. It's just that I'm in a much better position to understand what's going on now. And yeah, like I say, free to eat how you want, but largely eating for health with that element of freedom. So I wanted to talk about the 6 human hungers. I know we mentioned it yesterday from the point of view of lasting weight loss, but for the food relationship side of things, the 6 human hungers is so important. So most people don't realize that there are different kinds of hunger. And it's really important to understand these so that we can make a lasting change. And we've already talked about thirst, which is why I got you all getting the glass of water. But when we talked about the mashed potato and the chips and the pastry, that kind of thing, those kinds of things are causing us hunger number 2, which is low blood sugar hunger. So it's the pastries and the sugars and the chips and the mashed potato and the bread, those kinds of things most of us are eating too much of. And what that causes is erratic blood sugars. So when we get that hangry craving, I'm so desperate for food, I don't have time to cook, I gotta eat now, which I don't get anymore. That's long gone. That is as a result of eating all these artificial foods that spike our blood sugars. Okay, natural foods do not do that. So low blood sugar hunger is a massive one in food relationship. We need to get that addressed before we can start to feel empowered and in control. Then the third one is nutritional. I've talked about this when I talked about vegetables and fruit and protein, the natural foods, okay? We've got to get a wide range of all the natural foods in order to be nutritionally complete. Because if we haven't got all the right nutrients in our diet, not every day, but over the course of a week or a month or a year even, we need to make sure we're eating everything that humans need to eat. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that we are eating, a good range of proteins, a good range of vegetables, green leafy vegetables, root vegetables, and then things like nuts and seeds and avocados and all those things can help as well. But at the moment, what we're generally doing in this culture is we're filling our stomachs with bread and chips and potatoes or pastry. We're filling the stomach with that, and there's no room for the good stuff. So it's important that we prioritize the good stuff. And the program that I coach does that with you. It guides you to a much more nutritional way of eating, but not all in one go. We guide you there one tiny change at a time. And because if I said to you now, here's how to eat, most of you just would not do it. In fact, I don't think anybody would do it. It's important to make incremental changes, and the changes that we make on the program are done in the right order, so that when you make one change, like if I got you eating more fruit and veg, you would feel better. You would feel better within days. And so I then will coach you through, like, how do you feel since you made that change, and how are you loving your food? You'll be loving your food and feeling great. So you've now made one step towards eating in a much more nutritional way. And what is the implication on that for our food relationship? Well, once we are completely nourished from a nutritional perspective, we don't get that craving. We don't get that I'm hungry. The body goes, I'm fine. I'm doing well. I've got all the nutrition that I need. Yeah, I'm getting ready for my lunch at some point, or my dinner. I could eat, but I'm not desperate. So there's the first 3 things that we need to address. And that's exactly what my program addresses, one at a time. And then I'm going to skip into empty stomach hunger and variety hunger for this particular talk. But the big one for the food relationship talk is emotional hunger. Okay, so emotional hunger, I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment. We're talking about emotional eating and comfort eating. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but let me just show you these 2 slides. Here's a range of typical emotional foods: comfort eating, cheese, alcohol, not just emotional, but can be addictive. Sugar can be addictive. Alcohol, we know, is addictive. Coffee can be addictive. cheese, definitely chocolate. All these things can be addictive, but also can be compulsive, and we can also turn to them for comfort or boredom or convenience or social pressure. And then what I'd love to understand is when we go to these foods, what is it we're trying to satisfy? So let's just have a little think about that. Before we do that, let me just show you the next slide. When we do turn to those foods, how do they leave us feeling? So if it's alcohol, how does that leave us feeling? You know, there's the effect that it has in the moment, which is the desirable effect, that relaxation, that sinking, that release, that letting your hair down. But how does it leave us feeling? Well, I know for me, it leaves me dehydrated. It leaves me not able to sleep well. It wakes me in the night. And of course, if I've overindulged, if I've had more than sort of 3 units, I will feel hungover the next day. So let me stop sharing and ask in the room, what are your go-to emotional foods, comfort eating, and yeah, what emotional need do you think you're trying to satisfy there? Is it boredom? Is it comfort? Is it reward? Anything coming up?
I think mine is procrastination eating sometimes, because I put things off because I think, oh, I just need to have something to eat before I tackle that.
I think that's common. That's a common one, because when there's something to be done, it's like, oh, got to get this done, right? It could be like tidying up or accounts or a piece of work or, you know, whatever it is. You're kind of putting it off, aren't you? You know it's going to be somewhat painful or uncomfortable actually doing it. So it's like, well, what can I do to make this nicer? Oh, what's in the fridge? Oh, what's in the cupboard? Maybe, oh, well, how did that happen? Or maybe I'll just have a little bit of chocolate first, or, you know, get myself a snack. So yeah, I completely resonate with that kind of putting things off.
I think it's also, like, some people say, oh, give yourself a treat after you've done the thing.
Yeah,
But I'm not very good at that. I'd rather do it before.
exactly. I can understand that if it makes it a bit more joyful. But the problem is if it becomes a habit, if it becomes something, yeah, did you find that it stops you from getting things done sometimes?
Sometimes it's something I've noticed, so I've kind of got more control over it now.
Yeah.
So I was calling it procrastinating.
Procrastinating. Absolutely. It's very, very common.
Yeah.
Because food is so widely available, you know, and the wrong food. A lot of the time
Yeah.
it's biscuits, or,
Yeah.
you know, what can I just have? Just a little nibble before I get started. Yeah.
And I've grown up with my mum's always liked chocolate and introduced it to us as a treat kind of thing. But also it was like she felt she needed it for energy. So that's been passed down to me. So it's like, well, if I'm running low on energy, I'll just have it's a dark chocolate Kit Kat. It's only 2 things, but it's my sort of go-to. I'll just get one of them.
Absolutely.
Which doesn't really help, I know, but it just kind of makes you feel better.
I get it. People do think that they need like sweet foods for energy or a little pick me up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, there is some physiology in that, because while our blood sugars are erratic because we're eating all the modern foods, when we're on a low, it's like, oh, I just need a little pick me up. And a lot of people turn to coffee, and a lot of people turn to sugar, and
Yeah.
some people just turn to carbs. It all does this, but then you pay for it as well. So you get that big slump afterward. So we're kind of fixing the problem short term, but it really is only short term. And what we really want is consistent, all day good energy. And that is absolutely achievable when you're eating in the right way. And it doesn't mean you can't have an occasional Kit Kat. Of course you can. When you're eating well, your blood sugars are being controlled well. That one Kit Kat is not going to make that happen. You know, you can get away with it once you're eating, you know, 80% really, really well.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. A great one, procrastinating. Anything else coming up for you, Rita?
No, I think mine is just boredom, really.
Boredom.
Pick.
Yeah.
I've just had a little mini roll. just because I can't be bothered going to make something to eat.
Yeah, exactly. We turn to whatever's there and whatever's tasty, sometimes out of boredom, don't we? Can't be bothered. And it's just us we're cooking for. Can't be bothered to make a healthy meal. So yeah, those are the things that we need to address. And there is a way out of that. And
Yeah,
there is
I do. I make myself cook in the evening.
yeah. I think it's going to be a really good idea for you to this batch cooking, this batch prep, because it is miserable cooking for one. Let's cook for 4 and put 3 portions away.
Yeah, I've brought up 5 kids on my own. It always worked. And then suddenly, there's nothing. And then
Yeah.
my dog in my bed, and that's it.
Yeah, I hear you, love. Some of my members, after the 90-day program that I'm going to tell you about, people go on to join my membership. I had some members telling me the other day that now that they're living on their own, the kids have gone off, and maybe they're not in a relationship right now. They've started to ask around their local friends and the local neighbors, would anybody like to get together for a team dinner, like a communal dinner? So I'll do Monday. Does anybody want to do Friday? So let's cook for each other. If you can find 2 or 3 people, then you've got your company and you're making it easier as well. So that, that's how we're meant to be living, isn't it? And eating in communities. Nobody evolved to just make food for one person. Grab and go is a different thing. But Rita, we got lots to talk about. Lots and lots of strategies to talk about, my love. Thanks for sharing. So the food marketing is a massive part with those mini rolls and the biscuits and the soft drinks and the energy pick-me-ups and the convenience. Oh, I haven't got any time at all. I'm going to swing past McDonald's and just pick something up because I'm in a rush. It's all so much pressure. And willpower doesn't work. Sometimes we say to ourselves, I'm going to be good today. I'm going to be good today. And by the evening, we failed. So willpower, please don't ever feel like a failure if you got no willpower. I got minus willpower, negative willpower, because I'm a bloody rebel, right? So you tell me you can't have this, I'll go, bloody well can. And if I tell myself we're not having it, the rebel will come out in me. Any other rebels? So willpower is flawed. It's designed to just make us do short-term things, right? Come on, self, let's get cracking with this job. Okay. And it is short-lived, but to try and use it to improve your health or lose weight doesn't work. Rebellion, feeling deprived, feeling miserable, it ignores the very important emotional needs that the food is trying to tell us. So if we're bored, it's important that we address, why are we bored? What do we need? Is there something we can do to address that? Otherwise, we're never going to improve things. So addressing the emotional challenges that trigger the compulsive eating is so, so important. That's a big part of what I coach. And of course, willpower ignores stress. It ignores the fact that when we're stressed, we're going to go back to old habits. Because in times of stress, the brain just goes, what do we normally do? Do that. Yeah. So trying to overcome that powerful, instinctive programming is like, pushing heavy things uphill. So let's forget about willpower and start using a new kind of wisdom. So we need to get empowered. And it starts with psychology, some clever psychology around self-care and self-compassion, addressing all the 6 human hungers, addressing the thirst hunger, which you can do. Maybe you need a little bit of coaching to help you remember that. Addressing the thirst, addressing the nutritional hunger, addressing the low blood sugar hunger, all these things that keep us craving the wrong foods. And then we have a bigger task to address the emotional causes of cravings and compulsions. And that's not an easy thing to do, because everybody's got boredom. Everybody experiences procrastination. Nearly everybody experiences loneliness, lack of connection. You know, everybody experiences the wanting to reward ourselves. It's a big old book of things that we need to address. They're all emotions that need attention. And trying to make changes through willpower doesn't address them, so it doesn't work. But when you learn how to address all these needs in a compassionate way without trying to deprive yourself, that's when improvement starts to happen. Yeah, that's when freedom can start to, feel free. I'm now free to eat the way that I really want to eat without being controlled by the bloody food. Okay. It rewires the neural pathways eventually, so that, you know, so that this creates lasting change. So let me just, as we're coming to the end of the talk now, I just need to make sure that I'm sharing this for those who are watching on replay. The method that I coach is tried and tested by over 100,000 people worldwide. It may be even closer to 250,000 people now. Okay, I'm a certified coach, master coach, but what I do with this program is I add on top all this food relationship stuff. So you won't get the food relationship stuff if you go to any other coach. I focus on this because I know it's what changed my life. So it's about that personal, targeted coaching that understands what's going on for you with your food relationship and the way you like to feed yourself, and the challenges that you have with cooking and food prep and being too busy and living on your own. And, you know, all those individual challenges are all the main challenges that we need to solve in order to come out the other side and be healthier and maintain a good, healthy weight, and, you know, become that healthy, vibrant person that we all want to be, and tackle those symptoms as well that we talked about on day one. So it's about creating a lasting new relationship with food that feels great and allows you to feel free. We talked about conscious gastronomy. This is now, most of this is my occasional life. It certainly was at the weekend when I was in the Cotswolds with my hubby having a long weekend. I didn't have pizza. I don't especially like pizza anymore, but wine, there was good wine. Good, we didn't have chocolates actually. Yes, I did. I had a packet of the dark chocolate with ginger in. You know, the fair trade, green and black, something like that. I did buy myself a bar of that. So when I want chocolate now, I buy good chocolate. And did I have cake? No, I didn't have cake, but I had the patisserie. So this is now my life, and lots of beautiful fruit and veg and proteins that I love. So good gastronomic freedom. And I just wanted to share a couple of success stories that you may have seen before, but out of 300 people who have come through the program, they've all had success stories, and almost all of them are featured on my website under success stories. I'm just going to pop that in the chat, because I do have a shortcut for that. Oh, hang on a second. I didn't want to send that to the waiting room. I just wanted to send it to everyone. So if anybody's interested in finding out more of these success stories, because they've all got their own little unique challenges and what they've improved, whether it's joint pain, stiffness, a lot of weight loss, a lot of freedom around food. Wendy in particular felt that the food seasons and the 6 human hungers were life-changing for her. And interesting, Rita, Wendy got free from hip pain. She was on the list for hip surgery. And
give me 2 seconds, a plasterer's at the door.
All right, love, come back to us.
Okay.
I'll come back to Wendy because that's relevant for Rita. This is a typical cohort of, I think this was a cohort of about 16. My cohorts tend to be between 14 and 20 people, so that I get to know everybody and I get to know all their individual challenges, and we solve every single challenge together we solve it. You know, having coached nearly 300 through this, I know
Sorry about that.
that's all right, Rita.
It's not the plaster, it was a parcel for over the road.
All right, my love. I'm going to go back to Wendy, because the hip pain thing has just, I've just remembered that you were talking about your hip pain, and it was the same for Wendy. Now, Wendy was trying to prevent needing a hip replacement. It might not be the same for you. You might be, you know, well in
The hospital said bone on bone.
bone on bone. Yeah,
So
bone
I'd
on
love to.
bone.
I've never had I'm 68 years old. I've never had an operation in my life,
Oh my goodness.
and I'm terrified. So if I can avoid it, all well and good.
Oh, my darling, I cannot promise you that you can avoid that if it's bone on bone. But what I can tell you is Wendy's hip pain improved dramatically. And it may be that it was a different type of arthritis from what you've got. But what I do know is that with bone on bone arthritis, that's osteoarthritis, even although food can't fix that joint, it can relieve pain because it relieves inflammation, and inflammation triggers or exacerbates pain from the nerves. So when we get really, really clean with the way we're eating, and chronic inflammation reduces, pain can reduce. So it wouldn't be a guarantee with you, but Wendy is a great case study of somebody that really did get free from hip pain. And she so far managed to avoid that surgery, but I'm certainly not saying that that's going to be the case for you. But hopefully, you know, when you are feeling more on top of things, get more energy, hopefully we can help you relieve some of that pain. But what I absolutely can guarantee you, Rita, is if you do go for the surgery, having been through my program, your body will be in a completely so much better place to heal from that. So that is probably a different thing to what you were hoping for, but to get our bodies into the best possible state for healing and recovery and feeling good because our energy is good. You know, maybe that's the best thing I can offer you, but it's there for you.
Thank you. But the surgeons have said I've got to be in tip-top condition because it's major surgery. So I need to go there and do this.
That really is important then, Rita, and they're right. And surgeons are saying this more and more and more. They've said it to my husband in the last 6 months. They've said it to several of my friends. We need you in tip-top condition. We need you to release some weight, and we need you to start eating really, really well so that your body can heal. So it's good to hear that they are expecting the patient to put in some effort as well. So I'm pleased to hear that. This will absolutely help you get into that tip-top condition.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's have a chat about it, Rita. Book in a call with me and I'll show you how to do that later. I was just talking through this particular cohort. I'm going to finish in 1 minute. This is a cohort that very, very typical. Let's have a look. This lady reduced pain and inflammation. She had rheumatoid arthritis. This lady happy and lighter, more energized. Feels like fit my skinny jeans again. That was more about weight loss. She was a bit younger. This couple are well into their late 60s, sleeping well for the first time in years. Headaches gone, fitting into clothes nicely, released 24 pounds. What else are we seeing? Sustainable, healthy eating habits. Dee is 70 years old and feels well for the first time in decades and feels lighter and 10 years younger. And she's a really good friend of mine, and I can tell you she is still feeling that way, nearly 3 years on. Is it 3, 2, or I think it might be 2 years. Got her energy back, lost weight pain-free, feels so light, positive energy. Positive energy has returned. That's something that I haven't mentioned yet on this call. But when we start to eat in this better way, everything improves, including mood and positive energy, as this lady calls it. So that is something that absolutely happens. And that's because of the gut-brain relationship, which we talked a little bit about on Monday. So, my darlings, there's loads more success stories there. I'll just flick through. We saw Angela. She was with us on day one. She's feeling amazing. Lucy, food relationship. Donna overcame pain and fibromyalgia and symptoms of all sorts of things, chronic fatigue and type 2 diabetes reversed. Anyway, she's a great role model story. But just to end on time, my darlings, just to summarize for anybody that hasn't heard about the program that I coach, it's a 90-day program. It's a group program. My next cohort starts on the 22nd of September. That's 2 weeks Monday. I only do this 4 times a year. My last one started in July. This one starts in September. There won't be another one this year. The next one after this will be January. Everybody gets great results. Everybody, okay? So it's not a will it work for me? I guarantee it'll work for you. And if it doesn't work for you, you can have your money back, because I'm here to make sure this program gets you in the best health that you can possibly be in. That's why I'm here. And if it doesn't give you significant improvements, you can have your money back, okay? So in order to talk through what's involved, how much does it cost, what levels of support are available to you, call times, and how you do it, you need to get on a call with me, because we need to talk about everything. We need to talk about, what you need and what level is right for you. So in order to book a call with me, anybody watching on replay, you can scan that QR code. Rita, I'll reach out to you personally. Melinda, I've seen your call booking coming in. Thank you for that. And everyone watching on replay, it doesn't matter how you get in touch with me. Message, Facebook, email, phone me, whatever. Get in touch, get that call book. There's absolutely no obligation. I won't put you under any pressure at all, but I want you to see what's possible for you, because this really is incredible. And I want it for everybody. My darlings, thank you so much for being here today. Lovely little group. It's been lovely to talk to you both, Melinda and Rita, and everybody watching on replay. Let me know what you think, what's come up for you today, and let me know if you've got any questions.
Yeah, how do I get back on to the replay for the first 2? I couldn't get on.
What I'll do, Rita, I'll say goodbye to Melinda now. If you stay put, Rita, I'll show you on the screen how to do it. All right.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sue.
Bye,
Thanks, Melinda.
Melinda.
Lovely to see you.
Bye.
I'll talk to you in a few days, love.
Yeah. Bye.
Right. Bye. So I'm going to
Bye.
stop recording. Stop